But tonight, just before Christmas, the Christmas break, we've asked McKay School Choir to join us in leading the national anthem. So, and then we'll have a few Christmas carols after that. So, are we ready to start? Okay, ordinarily we also, perhaps this might be a problem. So protocol says we turn towards the flag, but...
we can have everybody face the flag. These guys, let me do this. We came up with, for members, we came up with our version of O Canada. It's a bit of a bilingual version, French and English. We'd like to share that with you today. So we would ask that you don't sing along, not because we don't want you to, but because you probably wouldn't know the words or the parts. That way the kids' voices will be able to hear. Smart man. That's why you got
it. Could we all stand for O Canada? Excellent. Thank you very much. I'll let you continue with the Christmas carols, but I hope you take that for posterity before the end of the term, right of the year. That's great.
On the announcements every morning. It is a privilege to be here. We thank you, one and all. And for everyone that's come out, parents and supported to bring the choir out, thank you so much. For Colborne, and I'm a Wainfleet boy myself, but it is a delight to be here, and we thank you so much for giving us this privilege. We have 3 Christmas carols, and we're going to begin with Winter Wonderland.
Spring was ringing, are you listening? In the lane, snow is glistening. A beautiful sight, we're happy tonight, walking in a winter wonderland. Gone away is a bluebird, here to stay is a new bird. He sings a love song as we go along, walking in a winter wonderland. In the meadow we can build a snowman and pretend that he's Parson Brown. He'll say, are you married? We'll say no, man, but you can do the job when you're in town. Later on we'll conspire as we dream by the fire to face and pray the plans that we made, walking in a winter wonderland. In the meadow we can build a snowman and pretend that he's a circus clown. We'll have lots of fun with Mr. Snowman until the other kids knock him down. When it snows, ain't it thrilling? Though your nose gets a chilling. We'll frolic and play the Eskimo way, walking in a winter wonderland. We'll frolic and play the Eskimo way, walking in a winter wonderland.
Now I was pondering this. Typically, you want front row seats to a musical production. I'm trying to figure what we call your seats, because they're not back row seats, because that's back there. I don't know what kind of seats you have, but I think they're good ones. It's just unfortunately you can't see the beautiful faces shining out here, but we've got Feliz Navidad. We'll take a little bit of a Spanish twist on this one.
Merry Christmas. Merry, Merry Christmas. Merry, Merry Christmas. Merry, Merry Christmas. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Hello, I know Felicidad. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart. From the bottom of my heart. From the bottom of my heart.
All right, for our final number here we have Do You See What I See?
Said the night wind to the little lamb. Do you see what I see? Do you see what I see? Way up in the sky, little lamb. Do you see what I see? Do you see what I see? A star, dancing in the night with a tail as big as a kite. With a tail as big as a kite. Said the little lamb to the shepherd boy. Do you hear what I hear? Do you hear what I hear? Ringing through the sky, shepherd boy. Do you hear what I hear? Do you hear what I hear? A song, high above the trees with a voice as big as the sea. With a voice as big as the sea. Said the shepherd boy to the mighty king. Do you know what I know? Do you know what I know? In your palace warm, mighty king. Do you know what I know? Do you know what I know? A child shivers in the cold. Let us bring him silver and gold. Let us bring him silver and gold.
Said the king to the people everywhere.
Listen to what I say. Listen to what I say.
Pray for peace, people everywhere.
Listen to what I say. Listen to what I say. A child, sleeping in the night. He will bring us good
go, I'd like to thank you and the choir for coming here this evening. And I'd also like to thank the parents for bundling up your kids and bringing them as well. It was an excellent presentation to us, and we very much appreciate it. As you file out, we have a little candy cane to give to some kids who probably don't want any more candy.
That's fair.
The bad news is tonight there were 3 council meetings, and we anticipate getting out of here by 11. So we're going to just pause now to allow the choir and the parents who don't want to stay to go, and hopefully you'll come back and visit us again sometime soon. Thank you very much.
Should be right there, John.
While I'm waiting for my assistant, I will make an apology. At 5:15 tonight, I left the ophthalmologist's office to come here to the council meeting, and anyone's had their eyes checked, you know, the little drops they give you, and your vision is not 20/20 for some time, and my vision right now is not 20/20. So if I make a goof or two, please forgive me. I'll carry your remarks to the ophthalmologist or optometrist and ophthalmologist, and give him the dickens for doing this to me. In any event, earlier this year we had a call to all the schools in town to draw Christmas card suggestions that we could put in our own card for the city, and we had over 250 entries, and from those we pared it down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 excellent entries, I think. The blown up versions are seen in front of the dais here with the members of council, but I think they did an excellent job, and they should be proud, and as parents and grandparents, I hope you're equally as proud for their work. We've selected 5, and the first 4 students have their artwork on the inside of the card, and the first of these is Ireland Morrill. Ireland is a grade 4 student at McKay Public School. Ireland, I don't know whether you were up singing with the crew, but you've left, they've gone. So I am pleased to present Ireland with a framed photo of the entire card, and with her picture attached there as well. So on behalf of the council of the city of Port Colborne and myself as mayor, we'd like to present this to you.
And you get to take this home too.
And that's a picture of the fire hall at Christmas. And we're also presenting her with a batch of cards that she can send to her family and friends as well, if she can get them out in time. I still have a number to send. The next individual is Leah Jansen Holt. Leah is a grade 5 student at Oakwood Public School, and Leah drew a picture of snowflakes and presents, but also added poppies across and the word never forget. And that was sort of a nice thought this year, especially with our servicemen who were shot at the memorial, at the National Memorial in Ottawa, as well as the gentleman who was shot at Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu in south of Montreal in Quebec. So that was very thoughtful. Leah, can we just present this? That's a framed picture of our card, and yours is depicted there as well, and we see it here. So it is awesome. Okay, I don't know whether you're going to be able to carry all that.
I'll carry the cards.
Okay. And now I wonder if Kate Kerrigan could come forward. Kate is a grade 4 student at St. Teresa's Catholic Elementary School, and she drew a picture of a Christmas tree decorated with a ship's wheel and the words, "Jesus is the reason for the season." Excellent words. Thank you. And we have a framed picture of our entire Christmas card, as well as some cards for you to send to your family and friends. And you get the great big one here depicted. I'm sure your dad can put that in your bedroom. Our next winner is Madison Catchpaw. Madison is a grade 3 student at Steel Street Public School. Madison drew a picture of a city vehicle pulling a wagon with Santa and a tree on it. That was just like the Christmas parade, wasn't it? Thank you very much, Madison. There's your card with your picture depicted thereon, and also a bunch of cards for your family and friends. And Mrs. Giles is going to bring your large photo book back.
I'll take it for you.
And our final recipient and winner tonight is Megan Sardella. Megan is a grade 6 student at St. John Bosco School. Megan entered the contest last year as well and also won. And her picture was selected this year for the inside of the card.
The outside this year.
Outside of the card. No, the inside of the card.
That was last year.
Oh, that was last year. Oh, that was last year. I tell you, my vision. Megan brought several images from around Port Colborne together in one picture. We have the lighthouse, a ship, the bridge, and H.H. Knoll Lakeview Park. I'd like to present you, Megan, with a framed version of the card, some additional cards, again, for you and your friends and family, and a giant depiction of the Incorplast. I wonder whether we could have all the winners come up for a quick picture with myself. Mrs. Giles, where would you like to take this picture? Yep. Shy, would like to come up? Doesn't look like they're all up here. Okay. One more. Thank you very much, everyone. You did a great job. Everyone ready to go? I call this special meeting of council to order. As I indicated earlier, this evening we have 3 council meetings. The first being a public hearing under the Development Charges Act, followed by a committee of the whole, and then council. May I have, again, we'll now proceed with confirmation of the agenda. May I have a mover and a seconder for the approval of the agenda? Moved by Councillor Bodner and seconded by Councillor Main. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? There being none, motion is carried. Are there any disclosures of interest tonight? There being none, we will now proceed with the public hearing under the Development Charges Act. This hearing will consider Department of Planning and Development Report number 2014-86. Subject is Public Hearing Report Proposed Amendment to Development Charges Bylaw 61319714. A 2-year waiving of charges for commercial, institutional, and industrial uses. Mr. Aquilina, can you please come forward and proceed with your presentation?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, staff, and those in attendance. Purpose, as alluded to by Mr. Mayor, was that this is a meeting to consider a proposed amendment to the City of Port Colborne's Development Charges Bylaw. This meeting is in accordance with Section 12 of the Development Charges Act. I just would like to inform council that there was an error in the report. Notice of this meeting was not advertised in the Import News. In fact, it was advertised in the Leader, Niagara, this week. And that was done so on November the 20th, 2014, and we also placed advertising in the City of Port Colborne's website. What I will do, Mr. Mayor, is I will present the proposed amendment for council's consideration. I'll give some background as to why and what was the outcome of this meeting. We will then allow any member of council and yourself to answer or ask myself any questions of clarification. We will then open it up to any member of the public that wishes to address council. Mr. Mayor, just some background to this. Council will recall in November of this year there was direction given to put a 2-year proposal to exempt industrial, commercial, and institutional development charges to follow suit with council's previous exemption of residential charges for a period of 2 years. Excuse me. And notwithstanding the cities of Port Colborne's 5 community improvement plans, council wanted to have an exemption process citywide. And our industrial, downtown CIP, Old Humberston CIP, East Waterfront CIP, and Brownfield CIP, there are currently exemptions for development charges for those individual and specific uses. In addition, right now, the City of Port Colborne's industrial development charges under this development charges bylaw actually exempts industrial development if it's less than 50% of the gross floor area, and also exempts up to you only pay up to 5,000 square feet of industrial expansion. The rates right now that exist when council passed the development charges bylaw just a couple months ago are as follows. For commercial institutional, the development charges are $1.52 a square foot in the rural area, $3.16 in the urban area. For industrial, it's 58 cents a square foot in the rural and $1.20 in the urban area. This proposal will be before council in a recommendation report that I have given direction to have happen on January 12th, 2015. When we advertised the notice, there were 2 comments received. Council will be aware of the 2. I will just summarize those. The first comment we received was from Stephen Rivers, and he's at 189 Clare Avenue. He is opposed to the complete waiver of development charges because of the tax implications of the taxpayer to make up the lost revenue from waiving fees. He also recommends a sunset date of September 8, 2016 to match the residential development charges waiver. He suggests a moratorium on any future development charges pending the implementation of a sound options analysis and business plan with respect to how new development in Port Colborne will be achieved and its development targets, and if the targets are not achieved, that a moratorium on industrial development charges will stay in place until such time as the targets are achieved. The second comment we received was from a Marcel Gingra of no address, and he states that he agrees with Mr. Rivers' comments. Mr. Mayor, that does conclude my report. I will open up if any member of council has any questions to myself.
Are there any questions for Mr. Aquilina? Any questions from Mr. Aquilini from members of council? Yes, Mr. Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Aquilina. The unification of the time for the 2 years, is that a major issue? How far, what's the difference according to what Mr. Rivers is talking about there?
Through Mr. Mayor to Councilor Doucette, we will certainly look into that, but myself and Mrs. Richardson had a conversation. We were looking to actually have that match the residential development charges waiver. It would be easy for implementation purposes. And that
Helpful.
date is September 8th, 2014, and then it would expire 2016.
Okay, so you are looking into it then?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Mr. Maine, Councilor Maine.
This potential loss of 0.25%, how do you get that?
Through you,
Yeah, go ahead,
Mr. Mayor, to Councilor Maine, what we had recommended in our report is to make up those losses, council would be looking at a potential increase during your budget deliberations of 0.24% increase to make up for the potential lost revenue. That was based on forecasted past developments. Past development. That's what we can go on, but there's no guarantee what's going to happen down the pipe. Hopefully we do get development. It would be good for the city, but to make up that lost, that's what we would be recommending to do during the budget deliberations.
Any other questions from council? There being none, I ask, are there any questions from members of the public? There being none, Mr. Aquilina?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just would like to read the following. Any person can appeal the development charges bylaw that makes comments or makes presentation to council. If you do so, upon notice of the passage of the bylaw, there is a 20-day appeal period. That does take effect in the implementation of the exemption. We do have a sign-in sheet at the back room if any member of the public would like to receive notice. Also, if any member would like to receive notice, they can do so by contacting the city clerk. We will ensure that there is notice given to that person. Mr. Mayor, this does conclude my presentation to yourself and council, and I thank you very much.
This now concludes the public hearing under the Development Charges Act. May I have a mover and a seconder to adjourn this meeting? Moved by Councilor Butters, seconded by Councilor Kenny. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. Thank you. This meeting is now adjourned. And we're ready to move on. If everyone's ready. I call this meeting, committee of the whole meeting to order. Are they ready to proceed? Madam Clerk, are there any items that have been added? Any addendum items?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, there are no addendum items this evening.
We will now proceed for the confirmation of the agenda, as there are none, no amendments. So may I have a mover and a seconder for the approval of the agenda? Moved by Mr. Elliott, Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Kenny. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Are there any disclosures of interest? Yes, Mr. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. I have the pecuniary interest on item number 18 as I represent the brokerage that has the property listed.
Are there any other disclosures of interest? Since there are no further items, I have a motion to approve. Can I have a motion to approve the balance, the remainder of the items? We got a what? Pick number 4?
Maybe she missed it. Back up. Items requiring this one here.
Okay, items requiring separate discussion. Councilor Butters?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will lift number 18 for Councillor Elliott's conflict. As well, I'd like to lift item number 27.
27?
27, yes,
Right.
please.
Councillor Kenny?
Thank you, Your Worship. As per direction on our council package, I'll pull item 17 and 17. 17 and I also, wait, 24, yeah. Thanks.
Councillor Demeray? I have nothing. Nothing? Councillor Main? Nothing? To my left? Any items to be pulled? Okay. Oh, Mr. Elliott.
Did anybody get item 23? No. I left item 23.
Item 23. There are no further items, and can I have a motion to approve the remainder of the items? Moved by Mr. Bodnar, seconded by Mrs. Damaris. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed, if any? Carried. We have no delegations listed this evening. And since we have a full agenda before us, I will not be giving a mayor's report. Regional Councillor Barrick, do you have a report this evening?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And very briefly, I know you have a full agenda as well, but I did want to provide council and the public with an update with regards to Regional Council's inauguration last Thursday, December 11th, where the mayor in his capacity as regional councillor, myself, along with the balance of regional councillors, were sworn into office. I know this council started December 1st, but we didn't get sworn in until last week. At that time as well, we were able to select a regional chair, and there's a new regional chair. Councillor Alan Caslin was selected on the first ballot to lead us over the next 4 years. So there's been a change of leadership there. And we do have a meeting this Thursday, a business planning meeting, whereby we can get back to work, which I'm looking forward to, and also selecting committees, agencies, boards, and commissions, not unlike what you'll be doing here this evening. So that's what's on the agenda for this Thursday, by and large. But I also really wanted to extend my thanks to the local city staff here, and an appreciation for what they do all year round. I know it's the end of the year, especially the clerk's department. I know Ms. Grigg is not here, but getting through that election before and after was a lot of work, so to the clerk's department as well. And to wish those Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to the public as well. Holidays are so close upon us, and I'm sure even the councillors as well looking forward to a bit of a rest. So I want to extend my thanks and appreciation and wish those a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And thanks for the card, Councillor Butters.
Thank you, Councillor Barrick. I indicated that I had not a report for myself, but I would like to take this opportunity to thank our staff who put on the Christmas parade. It was excellent. There's no doubt about it. There were over 60 presentations, 60 floats, and it was an excellent evening, and the crowds were phenomenal, and it was just a picture-perfect night. The weather was great, and so I'd like to formally congratulate all those members of staff who were involved in putting that together, including the mayor's assistant, who certainly assisted us with the band from West Seneca. So that concludes my report this evening. Okay, let's move on to our councillors' items and any new business. Items, Yvonne, Councillor Yvonne.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Just to let everyone know, the ice rink was built yesterday. It's up and going. I'm living on Tylenol right now. We were there from 9:30 till about 3:30 to get it all done and move the wood and do everything we had to do. But it worked out very well. Community came out. We had at least 10, if not 12 adults. We had something like about 10 children, and everyone plugged in. The children got to use the Sawzall and banged away with the hammers, and it all worked out. The only thing we need now is cold weather and a flooding. And just so everyone is aware, this morning I had an email and someone has donated 2 truckloads. One of our large water haulers let me know that he is willing to bring in 2 trucks to the site, and he's going to dump the water in when it gets cold enough. And what's interesting is this young man is also someone, he and his friends helped build ice rinks for other people. And when he saw this story in the Tribune last night and this morning, he sent me an email and said, there we go, I spoke to him, I'm meeting with him tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow at lunchtime, and we're going to hopefully have it flooded by the weekend and hopefully frozen by Sunday. So I don't know, it depends on the weather, but that's what we're hoping for. But it worked out very well, and everyone is really happy with it. So.
Thank you. That's why Port Colborne is a great place to live, work, and play. Councillor Bodner, did you have any items?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a concern by a resident who is actually on vacation in Florida, so they asked me to bring this forward. And I believe everyone has received the letter. It has 517 Cedar Bay Road and a home that's being built there on top of a home that was tore down. And these residents had taken this to the OMB and have a major concern that the house is being built, according to them, not in compliance with what the OMB had issued. And they asked for several things, and I'll ask for leave of council to bring this forward. But, Mr. Mayor, I don't know whether our Mr. Agolina would like to comment on this to give council any background he might have before I ask for what the people would like to see done.
Any comment from staff on that point?
Mr. Mayor, through you to Councilor Bodner, I can confirm that a building permit was issued. It was reviewed by planning staff, and it did conform to the City of Port Colborne zoning bylaw. We also had legal opinion that was given to us a couple of years ago that we used in this particular case, so that building permit was issued in accordance with our zoning bylaw, and our building inspector is actually, the house is under construction, and our building inspector is going through the process of reviewing the construction, and I have really nothing else to comment on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wonder if I can get leave of council. I'm going to ask what the people want, and it'll be up to council to decide, you know, if they want to proceed. If I can read the requests from the people.
Do we have leave of council for that presentation by Councillor Bodner?
I'll move leave.
Agreed? Go ahead, proceed, Councillor
Okay.
Bodner.
So what they're asking for, they're requesting that you immediately direct your staff to carry out an investigation and provide you with a public report regarding the issuance of this illegal building permit for 517 Cedar Bay Road, reviewing the actions of city staff, particularly with respect to their actions to circumvent the OMB order decision and to issue this building permit. I further request that an immediate stop work order be issued by the city building official and that the building permit be revoked. And that is their request, and I'll leave it up to council to decide.
Thank you, Worship. Through you to Mr. Aquilina. Mr. Aquilina, I'm just looking back on my Committee of Adjustment notes from that. There was quite a bit that went on during that, and it was my understanding that the two parties met. I've got, they agreed to accept the changes the two parties agreed to, reviewing the OMB variances, the ones that we granted, that means the Committee of Adjustment. They added a variance to the side yard and to the rear yard setback and disregarded, if I've got my notes right, the minimum frontage. So I don't know if the building on the lot is in the same spot, why are we considering that? Why are we, I'm just looking back at my notes, okay, I've just got little notes here, like, so, but I don't get it, I guess.
Mr. Aquilina, can
Sorry,
you provide some insight?
you can help me out.
Through Mr. Mayor to Councillor Kenny. Going back in time, you would recall the Committee of Adjustment granted the applications.
Correct.
It was appealed by the author of the email.
Right,
The Ontario Municipal Board met with the appellant and the applicant, and there was a settlement that was made, that was
Correct.
agreed upon, that talked about a new location of the dwelling that was first on the Committee of Adjustment's agenda. There was a board direction based on where that new location was going to be built. Mr. Hill has abandoned that OMB decision and is now rebuilding it where it was before
Original.
it was demolished.
okay. And so this is the problem with the note tonight, is that this individual who agreed originally is objecting to the change of location of that building? Is that what it is?
That's my understanding, reading the email, that they believe that the board rendered a decision, but the applicant, Mr. Hill, is not going based on what the board had rendered. He's going back to what originally was there.
That's what I needed to know.
So the zoning bylaw allows a rebuild.
It does allow a rebuild on the
Yes.
same location, does it not?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. Same size,
Say, as long as it's not bigger than.
correct.
Okay, thanks.
Any other comments on this issue? Councilor Butters?
So, is this house being built in compliance with the OMB decision? And if the answer is no, it's not, then what's the next step then towards making sure that the OMB decision is respected?
Mr. Aquilina, could you respond?
Through Mr. Mayor to Councillor Butters, sorry. The OMB decision was based on a different location. So they are abandoning that OMB, it has no merit right now. He still has zoning rights under the zoning bylaw, like for like. The OMB appeal was based on a different location, a different proposal that the appellant, that Mrs. Meiser had appealed. So the fact that the board rendered a decision does not hold Mr. Hill to a hard and fast rule based on the board's decision, because he still has his legal non-conforming rights. The Committee of Adjustment dealt with his other proposal that went in a different location. That's what the committee dealt with. They also dealt with a minimum lot frontage requirement, minimum lot area, size, side yard. There were more variances that were at the table at the time that Mrs. Meisner had appealed. Yes, the board made a decision based on that application that was before the Committee of Adjustment. Right now, he doesn't need to go Committee of Adjustment because he's rebuilding to what was there before.
I thought part of the letter seemed to suggest that it's being built not to what was there before. Is that inaccurate?
That is not a correct comment.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Elliott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Dan. So basically, you've got an OMB ruling that says if you want to build your house on in Part B, these are the rules you have to follow. But if you go back to position A, our ruling from the OMB has no merit.
Through Mr. Mayor, that is correct.
So he's not in any contravention of any OMB ruling to build it in the original location where the original house was.
Through Mr. Mayor, that is correct.
And he's not building illegally against any building permit that he has taken out for the construction of the house.
Through Mr. Mayor, that is correct.
So there's nothing illegal about what he's doing anywhere.
Through Mr. Mayor, that is correct.
I'll ask you this in your opinion. Should we put a cease and desist and a stop build on it? Would that put us in position to have a lawsuit brought against us by the builder because we're telling him to stop building a property with which he is conforming to all bylaws and all building permits?
Through Mr. Mayor, that's a reality. We already gave direction to rebuild. And that permit was issued based on that notion. Yes.
That's all.
Any other questions? Yes, Councilor Bodnar.
Thank you. Just to confirm, in discussions with Teresa, she's called a number of times from Florida. The real issue is they believe and they say they have a legal opinion, which is, I guess, why you have the OMB, because, you know, everybody's got a, not everybody, but planners occasionally have different opinions. That once the OMB did their ruling, that he couldn't go back and rebuild on his original spot because, you know, after spending a considerable amount of money go to the OMB, they feel that that decision nullifies his original ability to build where, on the foundation that was there before, let's put it. So that really is the, there's a few other minor things, but that is the crux of the whole thing, so.
Any additional comment, Mr. Aquilina?
Mr. Mayor, no, I don't. The board decision was based on a different proposal. He has legal rights under his zoning bylaw to rebuild, and that's what he intended to do, and that's what he's actually doing.
Thank you. Then I would probably recommend that Mr. Aquilina write the parties advising of our position and reasons therefore. And I don't know, Mr. Councillor Bodner, I don't know whether you would like to speak with them in advance, but I think we should put our position in writing to them and the legal reasons for it. Any comments on my comments? Can we direct staff to move in that direction accordingly? To communicate with the parties, providing them with the city's legal position and opinion on their concerns. Like, call for a motion?
Excuse me.
Yes?
Point of order, don't we need to vote on what Councillor Bodner put forward on his leave first? Or that what these people were asking for? Because he read off a number of items that Teresa, right, was asking for. So don't we have to vote on that first before we put another
No, we don't.
thing on the floor?
I guess what we really require is a mover and a seconder for leave. And I don't believe that was been done. What's that?
You have a mover and seconder.
Okay. All those in favor? Of leave. We have a mover and a seconder of leave. Yes. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried? Now? Could I call for a motion then for direction to our planner? Mr. Elliott, are you in a position to make that motion?
No, we've got to vote on. We have to vote on what Ron's put forward in his request or motion was to issue a cease and desist stop work order on the build of the house. I think before we can do anything else, we've got to deal with what Councillor Bodner has.
All right,
We'll have to deal with that first.
we'll move on. We have a mover and a seconder for that motion. To cease and desist?
Which is for cease and desist.
Moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Doucette.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes. Mr. Clinton?
If I understand the question, is it a motion for cease and desist order? Is that what I understand?
That's what she's asking.
If it is, Your Worship, may I ask that council convene in camera to review any potential issues under the law before that happens? There are issues that you need to be aware of.
Shall we defer that to the bottom of the list of this meeting and we'll deal with that in camera?
I don't think you can.
That can't be added to.
Well, we received direction from the CAO that we have to go in camera to consider the issues that maybe the.
You can do it now, too.
We can do it now?
Yeah, you have to do it
On this
now.
issue.
Okay.
You can't add to a.
I guess
Need a mover and a seconder to move in camera.
mover and a seconder to moving in camera. Moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Butters. All those in favor? Carried. All right.
Just a quick report, Your Worship. The motion was moved by Yvonne and seconded by Councillor Demery to move from the in-camera without report.
We have a motion on the floor currently that we direct the building official to issue a cease and desist order. Has been moved and seconded. Are you ready for the question? All those in favor?
Sorry.
All those against? Unanimous? Thank you. Would still be in order for our planner to write the proponent and give the reasons why our building official, our planner, and our solicitors feel that this permit application can proceed. Would you recommend that, Mr. Aquilina?
Pleasure of council. I can do that, certainly.
What is your
That's the
pleasure,
direction.
ladies and gentlemen? Yes, Councillor Doucette?
Question through you, sir. Are these proponents aware of all this information that we've been talking about? So putting it in writing, have they not received it in writing already in a different way? I'm just being curious. I don't want to redo and give someone work that is already done.
Through Mr. Mayor to Councillor Doucette, the individual that wrote the email has not been in contact with Mrs. LaRock. Another fellow has been in contact with Mrs. LaRock, but his name is not on that email.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that.
Okay, then we should.
Then council is content to just to let the matter sit as it is? Right, council? Is that what your wish is? Okay, Councillor Bodner, or Butters.
Well, I think she sent us a letter. She deserves some kind of response. So if the response is that request has been turned down, then that's the response.
That's it.
I think that's, fair enough. If she wants more information, then she can certainly ask for some clarification, and then at that point, maybe the planner or whomever would give her further information if she requests it. Does that sound fair?
I agree with you that she deserves as a response, and I thought that's what I was suggesting to Mr. Aquilina, that he do respond, but perhaps not using the same terminology that I had suggested. Everyone agreed that we will respond to Mrs. Meisner? Okay.
And I lived over in Adelaide Street for over 40 years, and that laneway was the first part in the city that was ever plowed. They seem to come straight out of City Works, come down Davis Street, do a lap, go up that laneway, come back. Was it last year they stopped plowing that out?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Through Mr. Mayor, Councilor Main. Yes, it was last year. We did some research. There had been some work done on it in previous years, but research showed that it was totally private, and decision was made, and all the property owners that were affected by this stoppage of the plowing that has been somewhere in the past, they were all notified, and the decision was made not to do any more maintenance on that laneway.
That's good. That's all well and good through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Hanson. But it seems that these people, sooner they know there's a storm coming or any snow, they come out of the laneway, they come out of their garages, and then they come on the street. And then when it does snow, the plow comes up the street, and he can't plow properly. He can't plow Adelaide Street properly. He can't plow Sugarloaf Street properly because of the cars being there. And I thought, you have one reaction, and it causes a greater one. And seeing that it is private property, is it the liability or that prevents us from taking that backhoe for 5 minutes up and down?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, to Councilor Main. It's more than just liability. It's taxpayer funding that would go to actually doing maintenance on private property. There's many, many private pieces of land within the city that we cannot do maintenance on. We cannot spend taxpayers' money on them. So there, aside from the liability issue, we cannot actually expend funds. So if there's an issue with parking during a storm, if vehicles are on there, we might have a bylaw issue as well that we can look at. We have to have the roads clear for winter maintenance on the open roadways, and it's something we can look at if it's an ongoing problem.
Okay, thank you very much.
Not on that, yeah, sorry, thank you, Mayor. Actually, I have two issues, and I'll direct them both to Ron. I had an email from a gentleman who's got a business on West Street, and I didn't realize it until he promoted it, but West Street has 1 hour parking south of Charlotte Street all the way down. Victoria Street has 1 hour parking. And Victoria has 1 hour parking between King and West. And Kent Street's not even signed on the south side. There's no parking sign close to King Street, and then there's no parking close to West Street, but in between there's no time limits to park in a section where we're allowed to park. I was wondering if we could bring everything into congruity and make it 2 hours everywhere, because we've got, once you get onto Charlotte Street, it's 2 hour parking. On West Street, in front of the businesses, between Charlotte and Clarence, it's 2 hour parking. It's 2 hour parking everywhere else except on West and Victoria. And I didn't get a chance to take a look at Adelaide, so take a look at that as well. But if we could just bring it all into 2 hour parking, just put the stickers on. I know we're going to have to pass a bylaw to include that, unless it was supposed to be done when we approved the 2 hour parking test, and then we went to the 2 hours all the time. I'm not exactly sure how we have to do that, but I'd like to see that done. So either Dan or
Mr. Aquilina, you have a
Thank
comment?
you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Elliott. Former Councillor Steele brought up a direction from council to look at permit parking on West Street in between Kent and I believe Adelaide or and around there, but we are bringing that forward in the new year because we have individuals that are getting tickets because of the 1 hour parking. I've held those tickets in abeyance based on council's direction on that permit parking. But if council wants to look at putting it to 2 hour parking, we can certainly look at that. That area was not considered to be 2 hours because when we took out the meters, only those locations that had former meters that went to 2 hour parking. So we can look at that, but I believe the same location you're talking about is one that's going to be brought forward to council for a permit paid or for permit parking in that location.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, and I remember former Councillor Steele bringing that up, so I just wanted to make sure that was part of it, and that was part one of my first issue is that there are a couple of businesses there, that need their clients to stay more than an hour, so that's an issue, and then second of all was the residential. We do allow residential in downtown in the West Street area. Problem being there's no public parking. So if you've got a resident in a couple of these buildings that lives on the upper floors, your building does not need to provide parking for them, and now there's no public parking in the area, and it's only an hour parking. Where do the residents park their cars? So that could be an issue. And I know we don't have to provide parking for residents, but the permit in which Bill brought forward, I think, is a way to do that we should take a look at in certain areas, this being one of them. And thanks for reminding me that was coming forward. But you want to say something? Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. Aquilina.
Through Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, you do need to provide one space per one accessory residential apartment. If it's a non-conforming use, you don't. But any new accessory residential units do need to provide parking. I just want to clarify that.
I believe, yep, and I believe this one fell in under the original where it wasn't. So that was just an issue, and it was just one person. So second issue I had was this one will be directed to Ron. A gentleman called me that lives on the dead-end part of Alexandra, in between Fielden and the rail line. And he said that when they snowplow, they seem to, in his opinion, push all the snow to one side of the street because of the way that they have to plow it. They can't swing around and come back out, so they kind of push everything over. which if you live on the south side of the street, makes it really hard to shovel your driveway. Can we take a look at the way that we do that? Is there any way that we can change it and make it less onerous on
Mr. Hanson,
one
you have a
side of the
comment?
street?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Certainly, we'll take a look at that tomorrow, and I'll review it with the road superintendent and the foreman, and take a look at any issues with it, and see if we can clear it up.
Any further items? Councillor Demeray?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Aquilina. Dan, I just want to let you know that I received several emails from residents of Rodney Street and Nickel Street who've been dealing with your department, dealing with the incentive programs. And they are so very happy with the way they've been dealt with, the extra care that's been given to them, walking through the process and that sort of thing. They just want you to know that they're extremely happy, and they think the city is doing an amazingly great job in dealing with these things. So just good to know.
Thank you for your comments, Councillor Demeray. Any response, Dan?
Mr. Mayor, what we do in our department is to follow up on a 5C service that we have in the policy, and we bring that to the highest notch. In this individual instance, with the compliment you had, we actually delivered the check to the household. So that's first-hand, first-class service. So I'm proud of that, and that's something that I have instilled in my department. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aquilina. Thank you for your good service to the community and that of your staff. Councillor Bodnar, another item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I forgot one that I was going to bring up. Can we just remind, let's say, merchants, again, what they have to do after a snowstorm? I was shopping on West Street on Saturday, and the whole street was cleaned very nicely except one area that, because I have a hard time walking on any ice, there was only one path, so everybody that was shopping on the street had to wait till people coming this way went through, then we got to go through, and some people commented on it. So I can give staff the business that didn't clean their walk, and I just wondered if publicly we can state what the policy is. There were some businesses on either side that actually threw salt on it to try to get it clear, but they weren't about to shovel it. They were busy themselves. So can we just reinforce what that policy is?
Mr. Aquilina?
Through Mr. Mayor to Councillor Bonner, yes, if you can give me that address, we will certainly contact the property owner. We do place a notice in the paper that you need to shovel your snow within 24 hours. That is the rule, and if you don't, upon complaint, we will do it for you, and we will charge the property owner that service. So, yes, so if you have that information, I will be gladly able to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Aquilina. Mr. Elliott?
Just one quick follow-up to that, Ron, because I had a concern about it from merchants downtown. You only have to clean your sidewalk, right? Where the snowplow, the snow row, where the snowplow plows it off. You don't have to shovel that off, or are you mandated to dig a pathway through that? Or is it you just have to shovel your sidewalk from the front of your building to the edge of the road?
Mr. Aquilina?
Mr. Mayor to Councilor Elliott, that's correct. Just shoveling the sidewalk is the requirement. So each property owner is to do that. I know a lot of people, they create paths for their customers to get through there, but there is no requirement to actually do that from the property owner.
I call one more time. Are there any other items? Good. Councillor Dench, please.
I just waited for all you guys. Ron, and I apologize, I didn't mention this. What are we doing with streetlights in Port Colborne? Because I know you had said that the retrofit was coming up, and I talked to one of the guys in the yard, and they said that the lights were showing up. And I hate to cry about Main Street, but I got 2 lights out on the street, and I'm looking at 2.5 months, and I've never got anything back from CNP. I've sent a couple other requests in. I get nothing back from these people. So are we going to brighten up our community anytime soon? Can you let me know, please?
Mr. Hanson.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Danch. We found a number of issues on Main Street. Some of the LED lights that were installed during the VIA process, they are not working properly. We noticed that some of the spectrum, a portion of them are burned out. We've contacted the supplier, and those are going to be replaced at the cost of the supplier. They shouldn't be performing that way. That's one issue, and there's a number of them that are out now. The two that you had raised, brought to our attention, that went to CNP, those did not get replaced, obviously, and that was a real concern for us. As I reported at the last council meeting, there's quite a large list of outages that were not repaired by CNP. Those CNP is now out of the picture in terms of replacement of outages as of December the 1st. So we will be not only compiling the list, but ensuring that our contractor replaces all those lights. Unfortunately, for those two lights that you refer to, you're in the sort of the transition period now between CNP being off the job and our new contractor now mobilizing, getting all the units delivered at the present time, and getting that work started in December. So those will be done. We didn't want to replace light for light. Obviously, we're not going to put any HPS units back up, so we're going to replace those two lights with LED units. So those will be done by our new contractor. So I can't give you an exact timetable. We don't have his schedule yet, but those are on the list, those two obviously, and those will get replaced with LED.
Councillor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Henson, on that issue, if there are any further lights that are out now that we are getting complaints about, do we contact you then instead of contacting CNP like we've been doing in the past? I think that's important to know.
Councillor Hanson.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Doucette. Yes, as I reported at the last council meeting, the link to CNP is no longer on our website. There's a link to one of our staff members. Our staff member in engineering is keeping that list updated with all the calls that are still coming in. So we're ensuring that that contractor, our new contractor, gets the list of outages and those are addressed as he starts his work.
Further, Your Worship, on the City Hall news that went out last week, there was also notice in there that they're to contact City Hall. The change is no more CNPI. They are to contact City Hall for any and all streetlight outages.
Councillor Bodnar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just on that same topic, just so we're clear, the lights that are burnt out now will be replaced with the new LEDs, but will the new contractor be doing those outages first before they go ahead and start, or does somebody have to wait 6 months till they get in their area to actually see those lights replaced?
Mr. Hanson, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bodnar. As I said previously, we don't have a schedule yet. What we're going to do is encourage at our first meeting with the contractor coming up on the start of the work, we're going to encourage him to tackle the list of outages first. Some of those have been out 6 months or more. So we want to ensure that those get addressed. We're not going to force him to start in a certain area, and it wouldn't make sense from an economic point of view to have him jumping all over the place. But certainly we're going to give him that list first up and encourage him to do that, and I think they'll probably cooperate in that basis.
Just further to that, I gave you a few that were out on Chippewa Road. One of them are right on a curve, which is, I think, takes some priority over some other ones. Is there going to be any kind of a thought process into which ones we'll attack first? And certainly that curve one, I think, is at least high up on the list.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, obviously that's a priority. When we're in that area, there's 3 lights in that area that are out. It would make some sense to go in there right away and try to get LEDs in those locations. So we'll certainly encourage the contractor to do that.
Any other items before we proceed? Are there any issues or new business? There being none, we are at item number 12. 11. Looks like a 12 to me with my eyesight. Thank you.
You can't, Mr. Mayor, you cannot go to the optometrist before council meeting.
We now have the minutes of the 25th meeting of Committee of the Whole for November 24th, 2014 for approval. May I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Kenny and seconded by Councillor Doucette to approve the minutes of November 24th. Calling for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Our motion is carried. Now, we're going to return to items requiring separate discussion. We have a number of those. We'll start with Councillor Elliott, proceed to Councillor Butters, and Councillor, can't read my own writing here.
Versus Councillor Kenny.
Councillor Kenny. Thank you, Councillor Kenny.
Thank you,
That
Mr.
was
Mayor.
item 17.
Item 17.
24.
Item 17 is Department of Community and Corporate Services, Clerk's Division Report Number 2014-48. And the subject is council representation on boards and committees. I'm only going to speak to your worship and with councils. I'm not going to read them all off. It'll take me a half an hour. So there were several committees where councillors both wanted the same seat. So on the, I just want to start off with the Accessibility Advisory Committee. Councillor Demaray has conceded that to Councillor Main. So now he will be the councillor rep on the Accessibilities Committee. And the, go down to 4 or 5 on that, to Fire Master Plan. Councillor Main has conceded that to the 2 standing members now, and that's Councillor Angie Demaray and Councillor Barbara Butters. In the Muzzle Committee for Muzzling, the Dog Muzzle Committee, Councillor Doucette has conceded the seats to the Councillor Main will sit on this, Councillor Demaray, Councillor Barbara Butters, and myself. On the Museum Board, I have conceded my request for that seat to the standing councillor, and that is Councillor Elliott. So before us this evening, Your Worship, is 2 different committees of council. One is the Committee of Adjustment, where there are, I have to make one correction to Your Worship.
Dave.
Yeah, but on the Niagara Central Airport, Councillor Doucette never requested that committee. And so his name is on there as being confirmed. When it's not him on that committee, Your Worship, it's myself and Councillor Butters. So if that could be switched, that could be changed on your list before you. It's in the report probably, but not on this, Your Worship. And finally, we are looking for one representative, I believe, for the Niagara Community Foundation. And I believe there was nothing listed here, but Councillor Elliott has said that he will be that councillor on that committee. And so what we have to, and then there's one also for, we're still looking for a cultural committee. And Ron Bodner, Councillor Bodner has agreed. So we worked out amicable agreements with all the councillors as requested by our city clerk. She asked us to discuss this among ourselves and to try to reach an agreement. There's only 2 outstanding committees where we cannot reach an agreement, and we'll leave that to the clerk tonight, how that's going to be handled. Committee of Adjustment, there are 3 members of council who sit on that committee, and there are 5 people on council who would like to sit on that. And on the Combined Hydro, Fiber, and Energy Board, again, we need 2 members of council to sit on that board, and there are 4 of us requesting a spot on that committee. Councillor Elliott? You're going to withdraw? Okay. So Dave is a no there. And so that just leaves 3 of us that still want to sit on that committee, Your Worship. And so I guess that will come to Councillor Bodner. Did you want to say something? No? Okay. Okay. So that's, we all got a copy of that. That's the agreement we all came to, Your Worship and members of council. Thank you for those who gave up seats and and those who switched around and made it all work. That's what you call working together. So there's just those two committees in, Your Worship. Committee of Adjustment, the Hydro, Fiber, and Energy are all one because we all meet at the same time. Is there something else? Okay, and that's.
That's your recommendation?
Yes,
Thank
Your
you.
Worship. Thank you.
Councillor
You
Bodner?
still have to find two, which is up to the clerk to handle that. Thank you.
Councillor Bodner, do you have a comment on?
Rock, paper, scissors.
We had a couple decisions on how to do this. I was into dueling pistols. Councillor Elliott wanted rock, paper, scissors, so the clerk's got a tough decision to make. Well, some people were saying we should get rid of a few councillors, so, I thought dueling pistols was appropriate. But, Mr. Mayor, I wonder if I could put my name forward for medical education. I believe we need one more. We had 3 on that. That's the top of the second page. It doesn't say it on there, but I'm pretty sure in our notes we had 3. Yeah, and I wonder whether I might put my name forward for that committee. And also, Sherkson Community Center. I think that traditionally the 2 Ward 4 councillors have sat on that, and I inadvertently left my name off of that, so I wonder whether I might put my name forward for that.
Is council in agreement with those 2 suggestions?
I was.
Is there anyone else who wants to speak to the appointments? Councillor Danch.
I'd sent an email off to Ashley earlier on, but on the Operations Center, I've sat on that for 3+ years. I'd like to kind of keep myself in the loop there on that one. And on the property standards, I was on that one previously, and I had mentioned to Ashley again that I'd like to be on that. I don't know if we have too many on there. We've got 3 representatives now, but I'd like to put my name on for those ones.
Is there agreement on Mr. Danch's request? Yes, Councillor Bodger.
Just a point of order, I guess we have to know if they're both open? Okay.
So we have agreement? Thank you. Madam Clerk,
Yes.
are we ready to
Yes,
deal?
we'll do the Committee of Adjustment,
Okay,
and,
go ahead, can you put your,
okay.
turn your mic on?
Okay, we will go with the Committee of Adjustment. Requires 3, and we have 5 names submitted.
And those names are?
Councillor Main, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Doucette, Councillor Desmarais, and Councillor Kenny. So we need 3.
The first 3 polls will
Yep.
be on the committee.
First 3 out will be on the committee.
We have Councillor Kenny, Councillor Main,
Your eyes are closed, everyone.
the closed half the time anyway, so. And Councillor Doucette.
Thank you very much.
Those are the 3 we require for the Committee of Adjustment. So then our next.
Oh, Councillor Aquilina has a
Oh, sorry.
question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have the Committee of Adjustment packages for those members that are on there, and the first meeting is tomorrow, so you are giving a shotgun. Councillor
Mr.
Kenny has
Aquilina,
it.
thank you very much for your due
Okay,
diligence.
before I forget, the packages are right here.
Wait till they pass the motion.
Okay.
Okay, then our next is, I believe then, is the hydrofiber energy. And we have right now, we have Councillor Main. And let's see, so Councillor Elliott, you withdrew from that one?
Yes.
Okay. And then we have Councillor Kenny. And we have Councillor Bodnar. So we require 2 from that. No.
Yes. First 2 out will be the committee members.
Councillor Bodnar. And Councillor Kenny. I think that's it. That's all we are looking for, correct?
Yes.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Sorry, we'll have to redo the Operations Center and Property Standards because Frank's added his name to these now.
Okay.
But I think, no,
Operations Center supposed to be too?
I think it was in the report.
Mr. CAO? Mr. Hanson, thank you for the question.
Mr. Mayor, just a question on the Operations Center. Are you, as the mayor, sitting ex officio on the committee? That possibly was our understanding, and then a member of council. That's the way it worked in the past. If it's certainly 2 council members, it's the same thing, but we weren't certain about your status with the committee, so.
I believe I'm ex officio on all committees.
Okay.
And I would certainly be ex officio on this one as well, but if it's open that we could have 2 councillors.
That's fine.
Sit on it. Okay, everyone in agreement? Now, there was a second one, Councillor Demery? Property standards?
So we need 2 for the property standards?
We have 2 confirmed, but Frank just added.
Yep, okay, so we are going to put in, let's see, Councillor Main, Councillor Desmarais, and Councillor Danch. And we require 2, so the first 2 out.
First 2 out will be the
Councillor Danch. Councillor Main.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
I guess we're all done. Good, good, good.
Now, I believe we need a motion to accept, to confirm those appointments. Moved by Councillor Danch, seconded by Councillor Kenny. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? I'd like to thank members of council for sitting down and working out the conflicts. And as Bay said, we're moving forward, working together.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is Department of Planning and Development, report number 2014-87, subject lease agreement with Bridgeview Motors for 40 Kalali Street West. This is acknowledging the conflict for Councillor Elliott. Recommendation is that council enters into a lease agreement attached hereto with Bridgeview Motors for the use of 40 Kalali Street West. Number 2, that the city clerk prepares the necessary bylaw for council's approval. And 3, that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign and execute any and all documents respecting the lease of these lands. Thank you.
You're seconding it, and then you're going to speak on it. Thank you, Councillor. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have no problem with the lease agreement. I think that's fine. There was just one thing. When I looked over the paperwork on the lease as to when it starts, it's page 332 of your package. And it says that the terms of the lease is for 5 years, starting the first day of November 2014 and ending the last day of October 2019. I'd like to amend that. We can't charge for a lease agreement for rent when the person's not even on that property. It's the middle of December. We're just voting on it now. I would like that change, Your Worship, with council's approval to the 1st of January 1st of January 2015, and ending the 31st day of December 2019. Thank you. That's the only thing that was concerning me. Like, he shouldn't pay for something that he's not even on yet. We're just approving it tonight, so, thank you.
We can do that.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Yeah.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Councillor Doucette?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. We just voted on the amendment, and now we need to vote on the whole,
motion?
the initial
Yes.
motion with the
Are
amendment.
you making that motion?
Yes.
Is there a second? Councillor Desmarais? Yeah.
It's already moved.
It's already moved?
Yeah.
All right. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Elliott, we're back to you. Item number 23.
Let me get to it. Rural Ontario Municipal Association Roma request for nominations for the 2015-2019 Roma Board. That Councillor Blank be nominated to the 2015-2019 Roma Board.
Councillor Bodner and Kenny.
I'll second that, and
What we,
I'd like to nominate Councillor Blank.
that's Councillor Elliott.
Yes, sorry, yes.
Is there a seconder for that? All those in favor?
Can I speak to that?
Certainly.
I hadn't even thought about it until Councillor Kenny sends me an email that says, hey, you should put in for this. Not even really knowing what it was. So I went to the Roma Board, her website, and read about it, and Councillor Kenny's right. We ought to have more people more involved in what's going on in our small communities. I think the last person that had any position on any boards for groups outside of our area was Councillor Lee when she sat on FCM a number of years ago now. That's got to be almost 8 or 9 years ago now. So yes, I would. I appreciate Councillor Kenny having the confidence in me to be able to do that, because it kind of caught me off when she asked me. But yeah, I'd gladly accept, and we'll see what happens. So thank you all.
Councillor Bodner, you have a further comment, question?
Mr. Heil, is there a cost to the corporation for Councillor Elliott traveling excessively to these meetings?
Through your worship, this is a board of AMO, so we will have representation on Rural Ontario Municipal Association, which is municipalities our size, larger than ours, right down to the smallest municipalities. There is a cost, and it is covered by the mayor's budget.
Thanks for your comment. Mr. Heil?
I got a.
Councillor Elliott, you have a further comment? A further acceptance speech?
And because it's a rural Ontario, I realize that Councillor Bodner has much experience navigating back roads of rural Ontario. So if he wants to ride with me to any of these meetings to show me how to navigate around the rural communities of Ontario, by all means, come along, you be shotgun.
There has been a mover and a seconder. Oh, sorry, Mr. Sinez, I didn't see you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. There is under the bylaw for conferences and expenses, there is in the bylaw that if council supports a member to be on a board, that the city would cover up to $3,000 of the expenses in the bylaw.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sinis. That pleases me very much. Councillor Budner.
Mr. Mayor, through you to whoever can answer this, just because we've nominated Councillor Elliott doesn't mean he's automatically on the committee, right? He has to be elected by the board, so, you know, just so you don't pack your bags tonight, Councillor Elliott, just.
Further comment?
Your Worship, in this position, while we nominate, it is a pretty good competition at the Roma annual meeting the first week in February. It's a 3-day thing, and there is a necessity or a need for the candidate we nominate to actually run an election to become supported by the delegates to be a member of the board.
And that first initial meeting can be covered by the $3,000. Of course, it'd be much cheaper than that to travel the back roads to get there. But, Councillor Bodner?
I think that if Councillor Elliott and I are going to run his campaign, we're going to need more than $3,000. So I just wanted to throw that out. We'll give an estimate at the next meeting. Thank you.
Better sharpen that pencil, Councillor Bodner. Okay, I think I'm calling for the question again. All those in favor of Councillor Elliott pursuing that carried. Okay. Item 24 again, B. Kenny. Councillor Kenny?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The memorandum is from our CAO, Robert Heil, winding up of the Port Colborne Hydro Inc., Port Colborne Fiber Inc., and Port Colborne Energy Inc., that if necessary, these should be wound up into one corporation by year end, and that the winding up or merger of the Port Colborne Energy Inc., Port Colborne Hydro Inc., and Port Colborne Fiber Inc. be explored with a goal of maximizing deductions and reducing potential capital gains. Thank you.
Is there a seconder? Moved by, or seconded by Councillor Doucette. Discussion? There being no discussion, I call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That was unanimous then. Thank you. Councillor Butters, item 27.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This particular item came out of the County of Huron, and it's regarding asking Canada Post basically to reconsider the decision to eliminate home-to-home postal delivery and to eliminate residential home-to-home delivery, and petition Canada Post to reconsider this plan. And when I read it, the recommendation was to just receive this for information. So I would like to put forward that we actually support the County of Huron's motion, and to distribute it to the municipalities as they are, and to try to influence Canada Post in that decision to let them know. I think that when it comes down to, especially for seniors in this town, I think having your mail delivered is a pretty important service, and I certainly don't want to see that eliminated in Port Colborne. So I would ask that I guess we would have to vote down this to receive and file, and in turn to endorse the County of Huron's position.
Have we reconsidered the decision by Canada Post to eliminate home-to-home postal delivery? And to support the County of Huron in this.
So this motion would be.
And we would send it around to
Is there a seconder for that motion? We understand what we're doing here. All those in favor? All those opposed? The motion, Councilor Doucette, I think you voted both ways. Which?
I'm opposed to this.
You're opposed, okay. The motion is defeated. Councillor Butters, you have a subsequent motion.
Yes, I would say that, I move that we endorse the position of the County of Huron and send our letter along with theirs requesting Canada Post to reconsider its decision regarding the home-to-home postal delivery.
Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Main? A question?
I just noticed, and I'm for it, yeah. I guess a comment. I never see anybody talking about already the super mailboxes that are in place in new subdivisions that are going up. Whether these motions want to, and the fight is against replacing those super boxes with home-to-home delivery. Because in most of the new subdivisions you see being built, they have super boxes. So there is no home delivery. There never was, and there never will be. And all the petitions that you see, and I can fully understand because of the seniors and mobility issues, people want to continue home delivery, but nobody ever seems to say, but what about the places where the super boxes are already in place? Because some of those subdivisions that they're building out now, seniors will occupy those homes, and I would believe that some of them will have mobility issues, and it's unfair for them to move into a subdivision where there's a super box in place and never get home delivery because the super box has already been in place. So I'm just curious as to why that's never been espoused, and why it doesn't say it here. I can fully support not ending home delivery, but I'm just wondering why that's never been in anybody's resolution to end the super boxes that are already in place. So just my comments, fully supportive of the motion, but I'd like to see something if somebody out there after we promote this along has a comment to attach to that. I'd be interested in knowing why that's never been promoted.
Any other comments? Councillor Doucette?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. One of the reasons that the Canada Post decided to eliminate door-to-door was they were saying they were losing a lot of money. If you looked at their last financials, they made millions of dollars in profits, and they still haven't implemented this. Therefore, is there a need for them to eliminate the door-to-door that presently exists? And I think we have to consider that, and we have to sort of decide, is it really that, or is it an excuse for them to get more money to put into the cash cow that they're throwing out there somehow? So.
Any other comment? Yeah, Councillor Butters.
Well, having went to Canada Post actually today to mail out Christmas cards, and I mailed 10 cards to the United States of America to some friends of ours there, and I mailed 7 to family and some friends that I won't see probably over Christmas. 17 cards, 10 to the United States and 7 in Canada, and it cost me $21. I have 2 stamps left over of Canada postage stamps. So they made their money off of me.
Council, I appreciate your comments. Any further discussion? We'll call for the question. All those in favor? Can I see those hands up in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. I believe that's all the items. Everyone's in agreement that all items have been canvassed and dealt with? Are there any notices of motion from our councillors this evening? There being none, may I have a mover and a seconder to adjourn this evening, this portion of this meeting? Move. Moved by Councillor Danch, seconded by Councillor Butters to adjourn the meeting. Any questions or comments, of course, but didn't appear that there were any. So all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Meeting's adjourned. Can we perhaps Before we move on to the extra council meeting, does anyone require 5 minutes to refresh? No? Okay, let's continue. I call this regular council meeting to order. Madam Clerk, are there any addendum items?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, there are no addendum items.
We'll now proceed for the confirmation of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Butter, seconded by Councillor Kenny. All those in favor? Carried. Are there any disclosures of interest this evening? Councillor Elliott.
Item 18 for pecuniary interest.
And the bylaw, sir.
And the bylaw.
Thank you. Any other disclosures of interest? There being none, may I have a mover and a seconder for the approval of the minutes of November 24th, 2014? Moved by Councillor Kenny, seconded by Councillor Doucette. Any questions, comments? Being none, call for the question. All those in favor? Could I see again, please? Favor? Thank you. Against? Motion's carried. The items requiring separate discussion. Mr. Elliott, do you wish to comment? Councillor Butters?
I'll lift the number 18 for Councillor Elliott's conflict.
Thank you. Any further items? And can I have a motion to approve the remainder of the items? All those in favor? Oh, all right. We have a mover and a seconder. Councillor Doucette, aye. Councillor Danch or Wadner? Councillor Danch, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? So the items requiring separate discussion are number 18. Barbara Butters, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the lease agreement with Bridgeview Motors, acknowledging Councillor Elliott's conflict of interest.
Is there a seconder for that? Any discussion? No discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor? Carried. We have no proclamations this evening. We have the minutes of the Senior Citizens Advisory Council meeting of September 18th, 2014 and October 16th, 2014, and the minutes of the Heritage Port Colborne meeting of September 10th, 2014 and October 8th, 2014 for approval. Can I have a motion to approve these items? Moved by Councillor Main, seconded by Councillor Desmarais. Is there any questions or discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Are there any notices of motion, councillors? No notices of motion? Madam Clerk, are there any bylaws for approval this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, that the following bylaws be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Bylaw number 6162/128/14, being a bylaw to provide for an interim tax levy for the year 2015. Bylaw number 6163/129/14, a bylaw to establish penalty charges and interest charges on payments due to the municipality for 2015. Bylaw 6164/130/14, a bylaw to authorize the temporary borrowing of $4 million for 2015. Bylaw 6165/131/14, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a contribution agreement between Her Majesty the Queen in right of the Province of Ontario, represented by the Minister of Agricultural Agriculture, Food, and Rural Affairs for the Province of Ontario, in bracket Ontario, and the City of Port Colborne, in bracket the recipient, related to funding provided by the Province of Ontario to the municipality under the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund formula-based component for 2015 and future years. Bylaw number 6166/132/14, being a bylaw to authorize entering into a lease agreement with the Bethel Neighborhood Recreation Committee for the operation of the Bethel Community Center. Bylaw number 6167/133/14, being a bylaw to authorize entering into a lease agreement with the Shirkston Neighborhood Recreation Committee for the operation for the Shirkston Community Center. Bylaw 6168/134/14, being a bylaw to confirm appointments to various agency boards and committees. Bylaw number 6169/13.
We want to pull.
Yep.
That will be pulled, voted on separately.
The
6169 is pulled.
Okay.
Voted separately.
Okay, sorry.
You vote that one after.
Okay, so then we will.
617, or just keep going.
So then it'll be 61.
No, leave the numbers.
Oh, leave the numbers? Okay, so I'll take that now. 6170/136/14, being a bylaw to adopt amendment number 2 to the official plan for the City of Port Colborne. Bylaw number 6171/137/14, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 1150/97/81 as amended, respecting lands legally known as part of Lot 30, Concession 2, being Parts 1 and 2 on Plan 59R-14820, former Township of Humberston, now in the City of Port Colborne, Regional Municipality of Niagara, municipally known as 54 West Side Road. Bylaw number 6172/138/14, being a bylaw to authorize entering into a contract agreement with T.R. Simons Signature Homes, retender 2014-15 winter equipment rental. Bylaw number 6173/139/14, being a bylaw to adopt a frozen water service pipe policy.
Everyone clear on those? May I have a mover and a seconder for those bylaws? Any comments or discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Madam Clerk. I wonder if you could read another bylaw there that we had pulled. That's bylaw number 619. 6169 /135/14. That's because of my vision problems, I needed assistance of our CAO. Yes, Alderman Bodnar.
Mr. Mayor, I don't think we had a mover and a seconder on the first set of bylaws. At least you didn't acknowledge who they were if you did.
It was Councillor
Because our
Kenny?
minute taker doesn't have it. I'll second it.
You didn't have a second? Oh, you did a second.
You agree to a second it, Councillor Bodnar? Okay. All those in favor? Carried. Opposed? Carried again. Now we'll do the subsequent bylaw 6169/135/14. That was pulled. We're now ready to present that one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, that the following bylaw be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Bylaw number 6169/135/14, being a bylaw to authorizing and entering into a lease agreement with Bridgeview Motors for the use of 40 Kalali Street West.
Well, we have a mover and a seconder. Councillor Danch, Councillor Main. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Madam Clerk, do we have a confirmatory bylaw?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. That the following bylaw be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Bylaw number 6174/140/14, being a bylaw to adopt, ratify, and confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the City of Port Colborne at its special and regular meetings of December 15, 2015.
May I have a mover and a seconder for approval of the confirmatory bylaw? Councillor Elliott, Councillor Butters, seconded. Any discussion? There being none, call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? If any? Carried. Now, before we go into closed session for the balance of the meeting, just a reminder that our next scheduled committee of the whole and council will be on Monday, January 12th, 2050, and Monday, January 26th, 2050, at 6:30 p.m. May I have a mover and a seconder to go into closed session to address the following matters: confidential engineering and operations, operations division report number 2014-37? 37, regarding a matter of potential litigation pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001, subsection 239, sub 2, sub E, litigation of, or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. Mover, Councilor Butters. Seconder, Councilor Demaray. All those in favor? Carried. Can we now move into committee room number 3?